Only a few words of Jesus were recorded as he endured the cross, but these few words say a whole lot about his love for us. Today, in part 2 of a 5-part series titled Crosswords, I'm going to talk about Jesus' cry to the Father, "Father, forgive them." Hey friends, I'm Jeremiah Porter, host of Project Lighthouse. I'd love to have you join us. To do so, click the subscribe button and the little bell to be notified as soon as we post new videos. I want you to imagine that you've been harassed and wrongly accused by a group of people who hate you because you are you. They mock you, slander you, despise you, and they want you dead. Imagine they take you to court on false charges and successfully sway the jury to decide against you and sentence you to death. Oh, and by the way, this whole time, all you have done in response is love them, serve them, bless them, give to them, and seek relationship with them. But they will have none of it. Imagine they have been granted permission to have you tortured to death. At this point, they have utterly rejected you and are about to destroy you completely. What would you say to them? What would you say about them? What appeal would you make to God regarding them? Perhaps your appeal to God would sound something like this: God, make them stop. God, let your justice rain down on them. God, do to them as they are doing to me. Well, what about this appeal to God? God, forgive them. They don't know what they are doing. You see, this is what Jesus prayed for. He prayed for his enemies at the moment, and for all of us whose sin nailed him to the cross. Jesus, the perfect, sinless man, the most loving, caring, kind, compassionate man who ever lived, the very Son of God, was wrongly accused and condemned as a criminal, mocked by his enemies, humiliated on the cross. If ever there was a moment of injustice in the world, this was it. And in the midst of this horrific injustice, Jesus uttered this simple, profound plea: "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." In this plea, we discover two proofs of Jesus' love for us. Proof number one is this: Jesus prayed for his enemies. Our sin makes us enemies with God. Those who crucified Jesus were really representative of all humanity, which chose rebellion against God over worship and surrender to him. While they wrongly accused Jesus, publicly humiliated him, and viciously mocked him, Jesus responded by praying for them. Jesus pleads for their forgiveness. Even though they hate him and are hurting him, he wants them forgiven and reconciled to God. Well, doesn't this make sense? After all, this is precisely why Jesus came to die. How great is the love of Jesus for you, friend? Even in your rebellion against him, Jesus prayed for your forgiveness. Proof number one of his love for us is that Jesus prayed for us. Proof number two: Jesus forgave his enemies. While he had every right and opportunity to pray judgment upon his enemies, Jesus instead chose forgiveness. They did nothing to deserve his forgiveness. They certainly were not asking for it, yet Jesus gave them his forgiveness. He begged the Father to forgive them, to not hold their actions against them. Why? Why would Jesus do this? Why would Jesus not call down revenge from heaven? he would have been perfectly just to do so. Why did he choose forgiveness? Because he loved them, and he came to save them from their sin. He came to free them from the rebellion against God that held them captive. Ultimately, it was only through his death that forgiveness would be possible. So, as he hung, dying as a wrongly accused criminal in humiliation and mockery, Jesus proved his love for us. Have you received Jesus' forgiveness? Romans 3:23 tells us all need forgiveness. It says this, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. In Acts 10 and verse 43, it tells us how we can receive forgiveness. Everyone who believes in him, in Jesus, receives forgiveness through his name. If you have questions about what it means to surrender in faith to Jesus Christ, or if you are ready to make your surrender today, email me by clicking the link in the description below. I would love to chat with you and be of whatever help I can be to you as you consider this most important life decision. Are you remembering Jesus' forgiveness? Perhaps you have already received forgiveness by faith in Jesus Christ, but have since struggled with sin so much that you now doubt whether you are still forgiven or not. If you are feeling as though you have messed up too big this time, or that you have somehow exhausted God's forgiveness of you, you need to know that is the devil lying to you. He wants to bury you in the guilt and shame of your sin. He wants to distract and deceive you from the truth that you are 100% fully and always forgiven through faith in Jesus Christ. Remember, Jesus appeals to God for the forgiveness of those who were literally crucifying him, those who hated him. Not only are you forgiven, but you are also not stuck in the sin that has you so tangled up right now. There is good news in 1 John chapter 1, verse 9. It tells us this, if we confess our sin, he is faithful and just and will forgive us of all our sin and purify us from all unrighteousness. Whenever you stumble and fall, remember the words of Jesus on the cross. Hear him pray to the Father over you, Father, forgive him. Father, forgive her. Perhaps you would like to know more about who Jesus is or how much he loves you. Check out the last video in this series, and also check out a message I gave last Easter called Greater Love. You can find these videos in the links below. I love you. Jesus loves you. I'll see you next time.